July 20th, 9:05 p.m. It's time to get out of Babylon. Babylon isn't a place, a physical place. It's a reality. It's a spiritual hell. It's a spiritual reality. It's spiritualism. It's what America has descended into. It's all of this sex, violence, carnality, brutality, lying, corruption, politicians lying, churches lying, police lying, district attorneys and lawyers lying. It's an empire of lies. The people of the lie, the bright and shining lie of Vietnam. The term false prophet may apply to individuals, but also to institutions. Prior to the Protestant Reformations, which might be called deformations, in that they radically altered Catholic teaching, first with Luther, and then moving forward in time to crazier and crazier false belief systems. There was largely only one false prophet institution, mainly Rome. When Protestantism split into factions and began manifesting the same spirit of persecution towards those that differed from them as Rome had done, many false prophets arose. In fact, Christ warned on numerous occasions against being deceived by these multitudes of false prophets. Matthew 24:1, and many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. 1 John 4:1, beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits whether they are of God, because many false prophets are gone out into the world. They've been around since the time of Christ. They've been around before the time of Christ. They're always around. The deceivers are all over the internet. They're everywhere. They're in every nook and cranny of churches. They're in every Hollywood show. They're in all the Insta reels and the Twitters and the anger and the deception of demons. The deception, the great lie, the big lie, the mass psychosis that everybody is going to be rich and famous, that we're all gods, this religion of the self, the century of the self, the Adam Curtis documentary. Some people should go back and watch that. The Century of the Self. I saw it years ago, or the Zeitgeist movies. Why nobody takes them to heart is the big question. I saw a documentary, Academy of Ideas, on mass psychosis. It's very good in terms of reading the experts on what causes mass psychosis and how societies fall into mass psychosis. Where it fails abysmally is towards the end of it, when it reveals itself to be part of the mass psychosis. It brings up the Václav Havel in Czechoslovakia and his absurd notion of these parallel structures that could be constructed against the mass psychosis of the communist system. And what are these parallel structures? Well, of course, it's sex, drugs, and rock and roll with Frank Zappa, Pussy Riot, Slit, Jeff Koons, and Keith Haring, and everything else. It's more mass psychosis in the West than there is in the East. At least they have some kind of moral foundation, and the Orthodox Church is there compared to our one world religion of anything goes. We're all gods and Source and Gaia and Buddhism and Hinduism, and it's all under the antichrist system, which has always been, as Luther pointed out in the Reformation that it's the Church of Rome is the antichrist in the book of Revelation. No, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us go, everyone into his own country. The kingdom of heaven is within. The only escape from Babylon is within to the kingdom of heaven, to block it out, to block out all of this garbage. It's a sea of garbage. It's overwhelming how much garbage is poured over everyone's head over in the internet. They just can't get enough. I just blinking my way through it, I can hardly stand it. And it's on the radio every year, so it's just a parade of the carnal. That's the opposite of spirituality, is carnality. You're either in the world and a friend of the world, or you're a friend of God. You can't serve two masters. You can't be both. You can't be, I love little kids and little dogs and pet, I got sweet. I'm really sweet. I'm just the sweetest. Just like God, he's the sweetest person in the world. He pats little doggies on the head. This is not Jesus Christ. He's on a cross. He's not smiling. He doesn't have a happy face. And he doesn't expect people to go through life on a sailboat or a yacht, or a kayak, and Jeff Bezos's $1 trillion yacht or whatever it is, where he takes down a bridge in Rotterdam. So, a historic bridge in Rotterdam. This is the most rotten global order that's ever existed. I mean, the amount of wealth and where they bleed and plead about, we have to do something for the earth, the climate change. Yeah, how about World War III, getting rid of cattle and drive around in electric cars, and where's the energy for the electric cars going to come from? And where the cobalt for the batteries are going to come from for these electric cars? From the Belgian Congo, with kids mining it. It's down to 6 years of age. It's like 70-80% of the cobalt that these batteries need. A warehouse, like with blood diamonds, the bloody Congo of Leopold, and the rubber industry, and where Kurtz's, Heart of Darkness is set. This New World Order, ladies and gentlemen, it's not God. It's not the God of the Old and New Testament. It's not anything to do with salvation or going to heaven. It's going to hell. I hate to break it to you. I know it's the hard news. I know it's the hard truth. But somebody's got to tell you, because your pastor and priest are just going to talk about prosperity and hallelujah and joy's here, and we're going to get back into office, and Donald Trump's going to save the day if you're a Republican, and we'll hold on to our abortions and LGBTQIA, whatever insanity. Aleister Crowley and Meet the Beatles on the Sgt. Pepper's album with Oscar Wilde and Aubrey Beardsley and all the saints, Karl Marx himself. What's the message on Sgt. Beatles? Sgt. Beatles. Lonely Hearts Club band, like Nathaniel West. Miss Lonely Hearts. Is Nathaniel West on the cover? Why don't we look? W.C. Fields and Mae West and Tom Mix and all the Bohemian Lodge, Freemasonry. And it's a nest of vipers, den of iniquity. I'll get into it as I go along, exposing what is real and what isn't real. There's the laughing, happy face and love, love, love. All you need is love. And then there's the car accident, with a decapitated body. And then there's Kenneth Anger's Hollywood Babylon films. And then there's the reality of Judy Garland's drug addiction as a kid, and Liza Minnelli and Warhol's studio 54 and the factory and the dead bodies and the drug addiction and the cocaine and the heroin and all of that. It's enough of this spirituality, the Beatles spirituality, the Maheshi Yogi Berra, unbearable, the Ram Dass, the pricks up your rears, Joe Orton, the hilarity of the puns, and Joe Orton is beaten to death with a hammer by his lover. That's love for you, isn't it? That's a real love that's coming out of the bathhouses and the AIDS epidemic. And well, who spread their? Oh, the CIA. Yeah, it was just the CIA. They went around, to bathhouses having anal sex, knowing that they had AIDS. So who's really behind all of this is the devil. Whatever you want to call him, Old Nick. Satan. The Word became flesh to make us partakers of the divine nature. Now, who's saying this? This is the Catechism of the Catholic Church in Rome. This is the antichrist system, the beast system. For this is why the Word became man, and the Son of God became the Son of Man, so that man, by entering into communion with the Word, and thus receiving divine sonship, might become a son of God. Man might become a son of God, for the Son of God became man so that we might become God. This is what we're going to become God, according to the Pope. And the Pope thinks is God. Of course, he's infallible. And you only have to go to the Pope to have your sins forgiven. You just leave God out of it because the Pope himself is God. He's not just an intercessor. He also tells the Buddhists and the Muslim fundamentalist Islamic, the Chinese, Xi Jinping, and their own fake Christianity. Well, they have Uyghurs in prisons, and they have Catholics and Christians going to prisons. The Pope approves because that's what it's all about: lockdowns and enforced mandates and this belief system of worshiping Pachamama in the Vatican next to St. Peter's. What's wrong with this picture? Why are so many Catholics unaware of it? All my former Catholic friends, the ones who slandered me and the ones who attacked me and called me demonic and all this nonsense. I mean, I've been through the ringer with these other religious groups that project all of their own demons and anger and rage on the nearest scapegoat, which is I'm ready for it at this point. So if anybody wants to attack, I'll just delete it. I'm happy for it to have any kind of discussion with reasonable people. I'm not condemning personally anybody. I mean, if Buddhists want to do what they're doing, or Hindus, or fundamentalists, once they get to the point of harming other people, yeah. But if they're and thinking that everybody has rights to go out in the street and shoot people and march and threaten Supreme Court justices, that's against federal law. So why isn't our Attorney General doing anything about it? And why are the Republicans all of a sudden being? And I'm not political. I'm just asking these questions about where's the truth? Where's the truth going to come from? I know where it's going to end up. This is good. I don't know if anybody's read J.G. Ballard's stuff, but this is High Rise. It's similar to that movie Snowpiercer. I mean, they're all basically structured the same, where you have the wealthier people, in the front of the train and all the lower classes going further and further down, and the delusions of the people up top that somehow they're completely dependent on the boiler room, but some, they're gonna party on in splendor, and somehow these people in the boiler rooms or the lower levels on the street, let's say, well, these penthouse people think that they're closer to God, and act like they're part of the spiritual elite. There's a general notion in Western society, I guess. Maybe it's throughout much of the world. Maybe it's throughout the Americas. I don't know. It's certainly in Mexico now. They're Catholic and pagan at the same time. It's always this kind of bizarre mix, schizophrenic mix, I guess you would call it. Like the Catholic religion was overlaid on top of the pagan religion, and it forms a kind of bloodbath. If you and a lot of Santa Muerte, who's worshipped as the same. The drug cartels have moved in there after the move from Colombia. From the elevator lobby on the far side of the swimming pool came the sounds of shouting. Urging on the dog, Royal strode to the rear exit behind the diving boards. Through the glass doors, he watched a heated argument taking place outside the entrance to the junior school. Some 20 men and women were involved. One group from the lower floors carrying desks and chairs, a blackboard, an artist's easel. The other trying to prevent them from reoccupying the classrooms. Scuffles soon broke out. Egged on by a film editor wielding a desk over his head, the parents pressed forward determinedly. Their opponents, residents from the 11th and 12th floors, stood their ground, forming a heavy breathing cordon. A bad-tempered brawl developed, men and women wrestling clumsily with each other. Ever seen a soccer brawl? They had those out in Lakewood when I was in Denver. The parents would, there'd be a bad call, and the kids would stand back, and the parents would come out and start beating the hell out of each other. I mean, this is the mass psychosis. That's a general theme of my blog. It is the mass psychosis, or the true man show, or the true woman show, or the true whatever LBGTQ 500 show. Royal pulled the Alsatian away. They've always got these purebred dogs. You ever notice them? Deciding to leave this jostling group to settle their own dispute. As he turned to continue his search for Anne, the staircase doors leading into the lobby were flung back. A group of residents, all from the 14th and 15th floor, moving further up, leapt out and buried themselves into the melee. They were led by Richard Wilder. Love it. Thornton Wilder and Gene Wilder. They're getting wilder and wilder. Cinecamera grip like a battle standard in one hand. Royal assumed that Wilder was filming an episode. And this is what year is to see. Everything's got to be filmed. 1975. Pretty good. Ballard is one of the best in terms of precognition. I'm up there too, but nobody can understand my comics even now. But Wilder was in the thick of the fray, aggressively wielding the cinecamera as he urged on his new allies against his former neighbors. The raiding party was shouldered back towards the staircase, in disarray. I should read it to some classes. I keep interrupting, and have to point certain things out in case nobody's listening, as usual, anything I say. The parents dropping the desks in the blackboard. You just get a picture of what it's going to be like once society breaks down. It's the Lord of the Flies theme. It's instead of being set on an island with Piggy, and the gang, it's adults because adults are children now. That's what I mean by the soccer melee. When grown adults are so wrapped up in a sporting event, for kids, like who wins a soccer match in a grade school or high school, the life and death of, that's how it was when I was growing up. That's why I'm a dropout. I'm a social dropout. I'm not a hippie. I'm not a dippy. I'm not a beatnik. I'm not a Nixonite. I'm not a McGovernite. I'm not a McCarthyite. Gene or Joseph. Bolsheviks under the bed, and now it's Ultra MAGA under the bed. That's the big difference, isn't it? How far we've come in civilized communication with this grand culture. Wilders slammed the staircase doors behind them, expelling his sometime neighbors and friends had clearly given him enormous satisfaction. Waving his camera, he pointed to the classroom of the junior school. Two young women, Royal's wife and Jane Sheridan, were crouching behind an overturned desk. Here they come, the women. Like children caught red-handed in some mischief, they watched Wilder as he beckoned theatrically towards them. Holding the Alsatian on a short leash, Royal pushed back the glass door as he strode through the residents in the lobby, who were now happily breaking up the children's desks. "It's all right, Wilder," he called out in a firm but casual voice. "I'll take over." He stepped past Wilder and entered the classroom. He lifted Anne to her feet. "I'll get you out of here. Don't worry about Wilder." "I'm not." For all her ordeal, Anne was remarkably unruffled. She gazed at Wilder with evident admiration. "My God, he's rather insane." That's the best feature a male hero can have. Royal waited for Wilder to attack him. Despite the 20 years between them, he felt calm and self-controlled, ready for the physical confrontation. But Wilder made no attempt to move. He watched Royal with interest, patting one armpit in an almost animal way, as if glad to see Royal here on the lower levels. I laugh, but it's not funny because that's black humor, and it's going to happen to everyone. The collapse and the tribulation, and where we're headed is into this maelstrom or tempest. Brave New World, Shakespeare's Tempest. Where everything's going to fly apart. Everything that you knew is going to be upended and turned inside out. And all your heroes are going to turn out to be cowboy stars like Ronald Reagan and George Bush. And it's all fake. They're all smoking pot. And they've all lost their memories, or they're gone insane long ago. Gone into psychosis long ago. Don't follow them into psychosis. Or if you're in the psychosis, pray your way out. Pick up scripture. Get on the straight and narrow path. Go against this tide of maniacs that think everything's funny. The Hillary Clintons laughing and laughing and laughing. Laughing about people dying. He died. What a grotesque way to talk about people dying by the millions. They died in Baghdad. Isn't that wonderful? They died in Libya, and they died in the shores of Tripoli, and the Somali pilots are dying, and we're just massacring everybody, and that's the road to peace. The road to peace and freedom and justice is at the end of a barrel of a gun, and Jazz Chop or Minneapolis or Chicago or everybody fleeing the state of California, which is in lawless anarchy, unless they're in some kind of fantasy world location where they're going to be superstars and make it in Hollywood. Lake Mead's going bone dry. The Southwest is going bone dry. This is the bad news. You know, there's only one good news, and that's Scripture, and that's it. That's the only exit. Other than that, you're with Sartre. You know, hell is other people. I heard Sartre converted to Christianity at the end of his life. I haven't looked that up, but Oscar Wilde did. Oscar Wilde converted back to Catholicism. I don't know how it took. Aubrey Beardsley the same way. And Wilde and Beardsley are both on Sgt. Pepper's. I don't think John Lennon got a chance to convert back, because John Lennon was God, and John Lennon, you know, were more famous than the Beatles. And we're with Maharishi Yogi, and he's a fraud. And now we're with Hare Krishna, and he's a fraud. And now with, you know, and it's just give me some truth, and I'm the truth, and I'm the way, and I'm the life. So that's what an antichrist is. An antichrist is a replacement God. It's a replacement for Christ. It's a substitute Christ is more apt a description than antichrist, because Lucifer is an angel of light. So you saw him as Keanu Reeves and what's his name, Little Al Pacino, and all these movies. I mean, you've seen him over and over and over. But it all amounts to the same thing. It's the seduction of Roman Polanski's Rosemary's Baby and The Ninth Gate and one Venus and Furs, or whatever that was, Lords of Carnage. What was the one? Bitter Moon, Nihilism, Nietzschean depravity. You know, Aleister Crowley, do whatever thou wilt. Let's see, how far have I gone so far? I don't want to go any further than this. So I want to read this description of the Aztecs, but I'll probably do that tomorrow night. This is the Conquest of New Spain. Terrific book. It was written by one of the soldiers who came over with Cortez and defeated the Aztec Empire. And that's always just been I've been to Mexico many, many times, starting on my first honeymoon. I won't go into that. Or maybe later on, who knows? I mean, I don't, why bury the past completely? Jack Kerouac wrote his memoirs, and Burroughs, Queer and Exterminator and Junkie, and it's all the story of, except he leaves out the part about shooting his wife through the head with a gun, and his wife being on amphetamine, so they have a child who's born with an amphetamine addict and all this. There's only so much I can take in terms of thinking genius has allowed these kind of liberties with shooting people and having amphetamine born children who are tormented and then blaming it all on God. Isn't it God's fault? Yeah. The God who doesn't exist, of course. I'm really crying, behind all of this. I just lament. I just am like the crying prophet, like Jeremiah, or I'm like Isaiah, or I'm like any of the prophets, or Jesus himself weeping at seeing the city of Jerusalem. Or, you know what's coming if you've seen it. And I've seen it, and I've been it. I've been inside it. I've been in psychosis. I've been in the insane asylum. I've been in solitary confinement even. I've been with these people who are in the furthest reaches of hell, and they're myself, and it's perfectly real. So I'm back from that experience, and I see all these phonies, these speaking in tongues people, and these, oh, praise the Lord, and we're going to have a revival, and it's all a lot of crap. There's not going to be. I hate to wake everybody up so rudely in this way, but there's not going to be any revival, any religious. God is fed up with America and our war after war after war after war, and our bombing and bombing and bombing and bombing innocent civilians, and then turning around and blaming it on somebody else. Oh, it's those people that did it. Oh, it's that. I marched against every one of these bloody wars, and there's nobody marching along with me but a handful of people against that Bush Cheney monstrosity, and every single one of the bloody liberals. And I was working at a liberal paper. Not a single one of them was against the war. And now all of a sudden they're with the far left. They're socialists all of a sudden when they're with the far right. Only a mere couple decades ago, a mere decade ago, what was Obama? How many wars did Obama start? So I'm saying that it's all a big lie. This notion of obey with Shepard Fairey, and yeah, I mean, that's total conformity and lack of observation, a lack of moral discernment. Let's put it that way. It's moral insanity. It's called psychosis. I mean, in the late 19th century, it was moral insanity, and it was a like Rimbaud or Baudelaire or Edgar Allan Poe or Charles Guiteau, who shot Garfield, and it was a religious fanatic at the upstate New York Oneida community. A lot of these really, John Wilkes Booth was a religious fanatic. There's a lot of mixture of fanaticism and religion, and what is this but demon possession? I see, John Wilkes Booth as demon possessed. Read the manhunt for John Wilkes Booth and how he got away with it. It's how did Manson get away with it? How do they get away with all of this? Son of Sam and all of them, and all these mass shootings that are going on. Is if you want to see them as psychological disorders, I don't see them as psychological disorders. I see them as good versus evil, and I see evil is just in full battle array and mowing down people right and left. And these notion of prepping for it, and you're going to survive the nuclear bomb, and you can stock all your food, and maybe yes, maybe no. But the only real escape is to escape from Babylon itself. God bless everyone.